The Dark Wisdom of Machiavelli. Niccolò Machiavelli was not a philosopher of comfort. He was a philosopher of reality. While many thinkers wrote about how the world should function, filled with fairness, justice, honor, and moral perfection, Machiavelli focused on how the world actually moves beneath the surface. He studied rulers, kingdoms, wars, betrayal, alliances, ambition, and collapse. He was less interested in fantasy and more interested in patterns. Patterns that repeated themselves across generations. Patterns hidden inside human nature. Patterns visible only to those willing to observe without illusion. Machiavelli believed one uncomfortable truth. Most people do not act purely from principle. They act from interest. Interest in safety, interest in gain, interest in reputation, interest in comfort, interest in avoiding pain and uncertainty. This does not mean every human is malicious, but it means most decisions are influenced by incentives stronger than ideals. When interests shift, behavior often shifts with them. This is why words alone mean very little without action behind them. Promises are easy in moments of convenience. Loyalty is easy when risk is absent. Support is easy when there is nothing to lose. But pressure changes people. Scarcity changes people. Fear changes people. Competition changes people. Under enough pressure, many individuals reveal priorities they once disguised. This is why Machiavelli paid attention to behavior under stress, not behavior during comfort. Comfort hides character. Pressure exposes structure. Machiavelli understood that appearances can deceive even intelligent people. Many are distracted by presentation. Confidence can imitate competence. Politeness can imitate loyalty. Humility can imitate harmlessness. Charisma can imitate integrity. This is why perception must be separated from reality. Not everything attractive is trustworthy. Not everything agreeable is safe. Not everything supportive is sincere. Observation requires emotional distance. Without distance, people see what they hope is true, not what is actually occurring. Hope can distort judgment. Attachment can distort judgment. Fear can distort judgment. Ego can distort judgment. To see clearly, one must learn to analyze without emotional dependency on a preferred outcome. Machiavelli believed emotional discipline is a form of power. Those who cannot regulate themselves become available for regulation by others. Anger can be triggered. Insecurity can be exploited. Vanity can be manipulated. Fear can be redirected. Desperation can be priced. Every emotional weakness creates a possible entry point for influence. This is why self-mastery is not simply personal growth. It is strategic protection. When you understand your impulses, you reduce your predictability. When you reduce predictability, you reduce external leverage. Machiavelli also warned against excessive transparency. Many believe honesty requires full exposure, complete openness, unfiltered intention, constant explanation, but total transparency create vulnerability. In competitive environments, not every person deserves access to your plans. Not every environment rewards disclosure. Information has strategic value. Revealing too much too early can empower opposition before your position is stable. Silence can preserve optionality. Ambiguity can create space. Restraint can protect momentum. This is not dishonesty for entertainment. It is information management. Another important principle in Machiavelli thought is the instability of public opinion. People are often influenced by recent outcomes. Visible success creates attraction. Visible weakness invites challenge. This is not always rational, but it is common. Humans often orient themselves toward perceived strength. They seek alignment with what appears secure, competent, and rising. This is why reputation matters. Reputation functions like invisible architecture around your identity. It shapes expectations before interaction begins. A strong reputation can create opportunities before you speak. A weak reputation can create resistance before you act. Machiavelli recognized that controlling narrative often influences reality itself. If enough people believe something about you, their behavior begins adjusting around that belief. Belief can create consequence, independent of truth. This makes perception a battlefield, not because image replaces substance, but because image influences access. Machiavelli also observed that dependency reduces autonomy. The more your stability relies entirely on others, the less freedom you possess. Dependency on approval creates behavioral compromise. Dependency on resources creates strategic limitation. Dependency on emotional validation creates identity fragility. Those who require constant reassurance become easy to direct. Those unable to tolerate temporary discomfort often accept long-term disadvantage. Freedom is strengthened by internal stability, the ability to endure uncertainty without surrendering decision quality. This is why discipline matters. Discipline expands optionality. Discipline protects long-term interest from short-term impulse. Discipline allows action guided by intention instead of immediate appetite. Many people sabotage themselves not through lack of intelligence, but through inability to delay gratification. They trade future leverage for present relief, future clarity for present comfort, future authority for present approval. Machiavelli understood that time itself can be weaponized. Patience is often underestimated. People assume action always means movement, but strategic stillness can be movement. Waiting can force others into exposure. Silence can create informational asymmetry. Restraint can make impulsive opponents reveal structure. Sometimes doing less creates more visibility than doing more. Another recurring theme in Machiavelli work is adaptation. Environments evolve continuously. Conditions never remain fixed. Methods that succeeded yesterday may fail tomorrow. Attachment to outdated strategy creates fragility. Adaptability preserves relevance. Others are motivated by the same values you hold. And once these lessons are learned, the structure of reality begins to look very different. The same conversations reveal new subtext. The same interactions reveal new patterns. The same environments reveal new hierarchies. And what once looked random begins to feel deeply structured. Once the structure becomes visible, it is impossible to return to innocence in the same way, because changes interpretation. The same smile can now contain multiple meanings. The same compliment can now be examined for motive. The same opportunity can now be evaluated for hidden cost. Machiavelli teaches that understanding power begins with understanding that nothing exists in isolation. Every decision creates reaction. Every action shifts incentives. Every choice changes future options. This is why careless behavior compounds consequences over time. Small decisions, repeated consistently, become architecture. Habits become identity. Identity shapes reputation. Reputation influences access. And access often determines opportunity. Many people focus only on immediate outcomes. They ask, what feels rewarding now? What reduces discomfort now? What creates approval now? But Machiavelli was concerned with long-term positioning. He understood that short-term gratification often produces long-term weakness, and temporary discomfort can sometimes create future advantage. This is why discipline is not punishment. Discipline is delayed leverage. It is the willingness to sacrifice immediate comfort in exchange for expanded future control. Those who understand this principle become difficult to manipulate through temptation, because not every offer deserves acceptance. Not every invitation deserves response. Not every opportunity is truly opportunity. Some doors open only to distract from more important paths. Machiavelli believed selection is power. What you refuse shapes your life as much as what you pursue. Every yes contains invisible no's. Every commitment eliminates alternatives. Therefore, careless commitment is expensive. Attention, energy, time, trust, and focus are finite resources. Spending them without evaluation creates fragmentation. Fragmentation weakens direction, and weak direction weakens influence. Machiavelli also understood that people are constantly signaling information through tone, through timing, through absence, through consistency, through contradiction. Words are only one layer of communication, often the most deceptive layer. Real understanding requires pattern recognition. Does behavior align with stated values? Does loyalty remain stable under inconvenience? Does interest disappear when utility disappears? These questions reveal more than surface interaction. Patterns create predictive intelligence, and predictive intelligence creates strategic advantage. When you understand how someone behaves across conditions, you reduce surprise. Reduced surprise improves preparation. Preparation lowers vulnerability. This is why awareness is a form of defense. Many forms of harm are enabled by inattention, not because danger was invisible, but because signals were ignored. Machiavelli would argue that reality often whispers before it punishes. Subtle contradictions appear first. Minor inconsistencies appear first. Small violations of trust appear first. Those unwilling to notice small signals are often forced to confront larger consequences later. Another principle in Machiavelli thought is the management of dependence and expectation. When people become accustomed to unrestricted access, they often stop valuing what is available. Scarcity alters perception. Boundaries alter behavior. Limitation can increase respect, where excess reduced appreciation. This applies not only to resources, but to presence, attention, and emotional labor. Constant availability can create assumption rather than gratitude. Machiavelli understood that what is too easily obtained is often psychologically discounted. Therefore, strategic limitation is sometimes necessary, not as manipulation, but as preservation of value. He also recognized the danger of emotional overinvestment in unstable structures. Many individuals anchor identity to things beyond their control. Public approval, external validation, social belonging, temporary roles, fragile alliances. When these structures shift, their inner stability collapses with them. This creates volatility. Machiavelli valued internal anchoring, the ability to remain coherent despite environmental fluctuation, to not let every external change redefine internal state. This form of stability increases resilience, and resilience expands freedom, because if every setback destabilizes identity, others can control you through instability itself. Another recurring insight is that not all conflict should be avoided. Many people are conditioned to interpret conflict as failure, as something inherently negative, something to escape at all costs. But Machiavelli saw conflict differently. He understood that some tensions are unavoidable consequences of boundaries, ambition, growth, and differentiation. Trying to eliminate all friction can require surrendering too much position. Sometimes preserving peace externally creates war internally. Therefore, the question is not whether conflict exists, but whether conflict is purposeful, avoidable, or strategically necessary. Poorly chosen conflict wastes resources, but avoided necessary conflict accumulates hidden cost. Resentment grows, boundaries dissolve, clarity disappears. Machiavelli believed unresolved weakness invites future testing. What is tolerated teaches others what is permissible. This is why selective firmness matters, not aggression for ego, but clarity for structure. Clarity reduces ambiguity, and ambiguity often becomes playground for exploitation. Machiavelli also paid close attention to narrative construction. Humans understand reality partially through stories. Stories organize chaos, assign meaning, define identity, justify behavior. People do not simply live events. They interpret events through frameworks. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who is victim? Who is threat? Who is leader? Who is outsider? Control over narrative can influence collective behavior more effectively than force alone, because belief shapes alignment. Alignment shapes momentum. Momentum shapes outcome. This is why symbolic acts can carry disproportionate power. Small gestures can communicate large messages when interpreted. Within narrative systems, Machiavelli recognized this deeply. He understood politics, leadership, and influence as psychological architecture as much as material structure. Another lesson is the asymmetry between creation and destruction. Trust takes time to build, moments to lose. Reputation takes years to establish. One visible failure can distort perception dramatically. This asymmetry means stewardship matters. What is built must be maintained intentionally. Neglect creates erosion, even without active opposition. Entropy is natural. Maintenance is strategic. Machiavelli also understood that power vacuums rarely remain empty. When authority weakens, alternative structures emerge rapidly. Where clarity disappears, competing narratives fill space. Where leadership hesitates, other actors increase initiative. Absence itself creates opportunity for someone else. This is why indecision can be costly, not only because nothing happens, but because other forces continue moving while hesitation persists. Stillness in one actor does not freeze the system. The system keeps evolving. This means inaction is often still a form of action with consequences. Another critical idea is that capability alone is insufficient without visibility. Many competent individuals remain undervalued because their capability is structurally invisible. Value unrecognized often fails to convert into influence. This does not mean performance should become vanity, but it means strategic communication matters. If no one understands your value, systems may not reward it proportionally. Machiavelli understood that merit and recognition are related, but not identical. Bridging that gap requires awareness of perception channels, how information travels, how status is assigned, how legitimacy is socially constructed. These mechanisms are often hidden from those focused only on effort. Effort matters, but effort disconnected from system understanding can become Machiavelli teaches that systems reward not only labor, but alignment with system logic. To operate effectively, one must understand the rules, explicit and implicit, written and unwritten, formal and psychological. What is officially stated and what is functionally rewarded, these are not always the same. Recognizing this difference changes behavior profoundly, because it reveals that reality often operates on multiple layers simultaneously. Surface language and hidden incentives, visible structure and invisible dynamics, public virtue and private calculation, stated intention and actual behavior. And once this layered reality becomes clear, new forms of strategy become possible, new forms of caution become natural, and the game reveals even deeper dimensions than previously imagined. And perhaps this is why Machiavelli remains relevant even after centuries. Because he was not simply writing about kings or ancient politics. He was writing about human nature, about patterns that repeat in every generation, in every society, in every system built around ambition, influence, and survival. To study Machiavelli is not to abandon morality, but to stop confusing morality with immunity. Good intentions do not automatically protect you. Kindness does not guarantee loyalty, and honesty alone does not guarantee success. Wisdom is learning to see clearly, to recognize patterns before they become consequences, to understand motives beneath words, and to move through life with greater awareness, discipline, and intention. Because once you understand the nature of power, you begin to understand the hidden forces, shaping people, decisions, and outcomes around you. And in that awareness, you become harder to deceive, harder to manipulate, and far more capable of choosing your own direction. The game does not disappear, but your position inside it changes. If you enjoyed this journey into the mind of Machiavelli, make sure to subscribe for more dark philosophy, psychology, and wisdom. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to understand the hidden rules of the world. And stay tuned for the next lesson in the art of power and human nature.